Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joel Kellen, and last night I binged the entire season of Cobra Kai Season 5. It wasn't exactly what I was planning on doing. Well, actually, that's a lie. It was. What I wasn't planning on was the fact that it took me until 1 in the morning, which was probably a bad idea because then I had to wake up at about 3 to 4 in the morning so that I could get to work. But whatever, it was worth it because that season was great. Like the show as a whole is pretty awesome, but season 5, I feel like it really upped the stakes, and it just became just a lot better all around. Like even better than season 4, and I really enjoyed season 4. So I'm not gonna try to go through like every single episode. Because, like, the first 3 are kind of... Well, actually, the first 2 are really about, like, Daniel and Chosen, like, trying to figure out, like, what Terry Silver is doing. The third episode is the one that brings back Mike Barnes. By the way, there's going to be spoilers in here, but you know what? Screw it. It's been out for a day, so I'll just add that to the title. I'll say that that's a spoiler warning. So, Mike Barnes comes back in episode 3. It's really interesting how they utilize him, where I feel like the whole theme of this show, not really the show, this season, is that is about like sort of like the deception of Terry Silver, and like how not everything is as it seems. Like, so the way they introduce Mike Barnes into this into the episode that he comes back in, Daniel and Chosen like see him at this one like building where he starts pulling out like this bone saw and one of those I don't know what to call what people call like one of those jigsaws, the kind that like you cut pipes with. Like even Chosen says that in the episode. But like it's really teed up to have him be like an over the top maniacal villain. Like, oh, he's gonna use saws like to basically cut off people's legs. Well, Daniel kind of confronts him. He thinks that like he's working with Terry Silver, but turns out he's actually talking about like a deal that he was trying to close for the furniture company that he owns. And I just thought the whole thing was hilarious. Like I already knew that like that's not what who Barnes was gonna be in the show, because the other theme of this whole show is just how like Cobra Kai and its senseis John Kreese and Terry Silver basically kind of screwed everybody over in the long run. Like they've screwed over Johnny Lawrence, they screwed Mike Barnes, they screwed basically all of Johnny's friends, and now that they're back in Daniel LaRusso's life, they've basically made his life a living hell for both him and his family. So it was really neat to see the same actor playing as Mike Barnes return, and returning as kind of a guy who's helping Daniel LaRusso. And then, like, the next 3 episodes after that, episodes 4, 5, and 6, which I consider to be, like, the mid-season, I consider that to be, like, the high point of the entire season. Like, those were my favorites. Or episode 4, like, outside of the kids at the water park, like those scenes in the trailer, like where they're all in their swimsuits and they're arguing with between Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. That happens in the episode, but there was never like a full-on fight there. And as far as I remember, there wasn't really that much of a fight in the episode at all. But I think that was another point they were trying to make, because the episode was also very big on like Daniel and Terry Silver, and how Terry Silver, like, just how intimidating and threatening Terry Silver can be without throwing a punch at all. Like, so I'll be honest, I actually saw Cobra Kai before I watched the Karate Kid movies, but it was still pretty easy to follow along. And the thing I picked up about Terry Silver, especially like in this episode, is that he is as much like a mental and emotional threat as he is a physical one, which kind of in some ways makes him a little bit more dangerous than John Kreese, where over between like seasons 2, 3, and 4, you kind of realize that like John Kreese is also a mental manipulator, but um just like with karate, like he and Terry Silver have like different ways of being manipulative, where um like how Kreese, in my opinion, he kind of like adapts to a situation to suit his needs, or like especially in season 3 where Miyagi-Do attacked Cobra Kai at that at in the arcade or something, and then like Samantha LaRusso showed up to his dojo and legally assaulted him. Like he used that to his advantage to like go to the state council and say that like Miyagi-Do is violent, Daniel's daughter is out of control, like Miyagi-Do attacked his students and Daniel's wife assaulted him. Like, cause, and I'm pretty sure that Kreese was not thinking that far ahead to have I don't think he was planning Miyagi-Do to attack Cobra Kai first, and I'm pretty sure he wasn't planning on Samantha LaRusso kind of showing up and hitting him. Well, Terry Silver is different, where instead of like adapting to a situation, he completely like fabricates and completely molds a situation so that he completely manipulates how others behave. And this was on full display like in episode 4 when he completely fabricates lies about Daniel and Amanda, and he completely like manipulates Daniel into acting exactly how he wants him to act, which ultimately drives a wedge between Daniel and Amanda. And by the end of the episode, like she actually separates from him for a bit. And then like the very next episode after that, and to me was equally as good because it kind of shows just how far how desperate Daniel has really gotten, and I do like that that a lot of times in movies and TV shows, every time that that like the heroes start to feel like down on their luck, like they start growing like facial hair, and the hair becomes more messy. I always think that's a little bit funny, and like I've done that myself in some of the short films that I've done. But so by episode 5, like Amanda and the kids have left Daniel for a little bit. All he has is Chosen, and Daniel's just about given up, but he's really desperate. He tries to find Stingray, who back in season 4 lied about Kreese assaulting him. And like he and like he's basically tunneling at this point, right? And it gets to the point where like he goes to see Johnny for help, and that's the first time that that he and Johnny can meet back up since the ending of season 4. And Johnny wants nothing to do with it because like he washed his hands after losing the tournament at the end of season 4. And like Daniel starts like becoming increasingly desperate to the point where Johnny even says like, "Hey man, this ain't you. Like, this isn't the Daniel LaRusso that I know." And that's what eventually snaps Daniel out of it. And that was actually one of my favorite scenes of the whole season, to be honest, where Terry Silver just pushed Daniel so far to the point where like even Johnny was telling him like to snap out of whatever the hell he was going through. And then the other really big thing about that particular episode was well, we find out that Amanda is the cousin of the girlfriend from the third movie, and like they're all sitting at a bar, like Amanda, the kids, and I can't remember her name from the third movie, but like the love interest, who's Amanda's cousin. And that's when Amanda realizes like just how much of a threat Terry Silver really is, because ever since the start of the season, well, ever since the start of the show, to be honest, Amanda never really bought into like uh, just how terrifying like John Kreese or Terry Silver were. Well, actually, she believed about John Kreese, not much about Terry Silver, but uh, but the previous episode kind of showed that like that that Silver kind of like manipulated her into thinking that like he was just a harmless guy. Well, in the next episode, the love interest from the third film like fully explained like what exactly like makes Terry Silver a threat, and that's what causes her like to ultimately come back to Daniel. Unfortunately, that's too late, because whereas in the previous episode showed like just how dangerous Terry Silver is like as a manipulator, this episode like uh finally showed like his physical skills on full display. Like they like in the previous season, like they had him like beat Johnny to a pulp. Well, in this one, like they had him go toe to toe with Daniel, and like he really messed Daniel up. So, and again, like different styles of fighting, different styles of manipulation, like just like how Kreese like adapts to his situation, whereas Terry like completely fabricates and manipulates a story to like get people to act exactly how he wants them to. Uh, John Kreese, especially in season 4, I think is a little bit more of like raw and brute strength, kind of, in my opinion. While Terry Silver kind of like has a little bit of a finesse to his fighting style, like it feels like a little bit more crisp and clean. Or maybe that was just me looking too deep into things, but he ends up kicking Daniel's ass, and that kickstarts episode 6, where like Daniel is just completely broken. Like he wants nothing to do with Cobra Kai anymore, and like Johnny, Amanda, Sam, and Chosen like are all telling him like that he needs to keep fighting. And it takes a pep talk from Amanda, who talks about Miyagi, to get him back in the fight, and to show him that like everyone at Miyagi-Do like still wants to like train under him. And there was this funny shot at the end of the episode where it shows like Johnny Chosen, um, Johnny and Chosen like are outside with Daniel. All of the Miyagi-Do kids are out there too. Amanda's with them, but then all the kids and Amanda, they bow to Daniel, Johnny, and Chosen. And for a minute there, I thought that that was going to mean that Amanda was actually going to learn some karate. Well, that didn't happen. And to be honest, I kind of do want to see it happen, to be honest. But oh well, maybe we'll have to wait till next season. Um oh, and I guess I kind of should mention, so the reason why Johnny and Daniel haven't seen each other like for basically half of the season is because like that cliffhanger at the end of season 4 where Miguel goes to Mexico to find his father. Well, Johnny goes after him. He brings Robbie with him, and like Miguel eventually does find his dad, but he finds out that he's just an asshole. So he goes back to Johnny, and goes back to California, to the Valley. He works stuff out with Robbie by like completely hashing stuff out, by completely like beating the ever loving shit out of them. But hey, at least they finally got on the same page. The last few episodes to me were a bit of a blur, because like it really kind of went back to normal, which is kind of why, at least to me, I didn't really care for those episodes as much as I did like the middle 3. Like it was really about like just Danny and Johnny and Chosen like trying to figure out like what to do with Cobra Kai. Which, speaking of, I believe episode 6 was also the one where Johnny and Chosen, like, they team up and they take the fight to Cobra Kai in their own dojo. But it's really not till the final 2 episodes where that I really remember everything, where all the adults they go out clubbing because they find out that after the previous season, Johnny ended up getting Carmen pregnant. So they end up celebrating because they find out they're having a baby. Well, the episode ends with somebody like stealing out of their limo and driving them off into the middle of the woods. Meanwhile, the kids find out from Tori that Terry Silver like manipulated the All Valley tournament to make sure that Cobra Kai would win. And it also wasn't the last time, because another plot point from a previous episode is that Terry Silver wants Cobra Kai to enter in this like world tournament. That way, like, Cobra Kai can be recognized like all around the world. And that's one of the other things that I kind of liked about Terry Silver this season, is that like they made him into basically like a Bond villain who wants to take over the world, but they did it in a way that's actually believable. Like, they made him they didn't make him feel like he was being like over the top in any way. Like, I mean, sure, his methods might have been a little bit over the top with just how threatening he is to Daniel and his family, but like his actual methods of like the whole taking over the world with karate, they actually kind of made sense, where it felt like an 80s movie, but it didn't feel cheesy, if that made sense at all. And like, it was explained in a flashback that this is what Terry has wanted to do ever since like the 80s. And now that Kreese is out of the picture, like he finally has the means to do that. But they talk with like the judges there, who qualify them to enter into the tournament, the world tournament. I can't completely remember what it's called, but they end up having like sort of like a mock tournament between Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do, and like, just like with the All Valley, Terry Silver like bought off the referee to have Cobra Kai, to make sure that Cobra Kai won. Tori notices this, and she leaves before she fights Sam. That leaves that one girl who was originally from Eagle Fang from season 4 to fight Sam. And that's really when Johnny and Daniel like realize like what exactly Terry Silver is up to. So like, they make sure that Sam like she leaves no room for error, so like the referee has no choice but to award her points. Which and this also happens like during the final episode. So what I said about Terry Silver like being a master manipulator, where like he completely like fabricates and twists the situation, like where he basically creates something out of nothing just to get people to react the exact way that he wants them to, so that he can just flick those dominoes. It's really interesting because like the episode where they get qualified for that world tournament, like that's the first episode where it really shows that his control is starting to slip, and it does a good job in showing that like when Terry does not have complete control over a situation, like that's when he starts to panic. Because like during that fight between Sam and that one girl from Eagle Fang, I think her name was Devin Lee or something, like it kept cutting back between Silver and the referee, and like you could actually see that Silver was worried about the outcome, because like even though he bought off the referee, like Daniel and Johnny were kind of like onto him at that point. So like they basically kind of backed him into a corner to have no choice but declare Sam as the winner. So that was very cool. So after onto the final episode when the limo finally kind of stops and Johnny Chosen and Daniel are finally able to get out. The driver is revealed to be Mike Barnes, who starts to beat on all of them until like they all realize like, oh, Terry Silver is the one who has completely like fucked their lives over. So Johnny, Chosen, and Barnes, they all go to Terry Silver's house. Meanwhile, stranding Daniel there in the middle of nowhere. Which I kind of realized, like, as the episode went on, that the whole premise of that fight is like the three technically main villains of the first three films going to fight one of the overarching antagonists of the series is just awesome. So they go over to Terry's house, and once again, Silver manipulated the situation because like he has like all of his like senseis that he brought in from I think Japan or something. They come in and like they start a huge brawl in the house. Chosen fights Terry Silver, and Terry Silver uses a freaking sword on him. And like this is what I appreciate about like this newest season, that like that it like got more violent. It got there was more blood with it, and there's a little bit more swearing. Like there are a few F-bombs that are said, mostly during the first two episodes and in Spanish, but like during this final episode, like Daniel and Terry, they drop a few, like just to illustrate just how dire the situation is for everyone. It gets a lot more bloody, especially because Terry's using like a freaking samurai sword against Chosen. To the point where I actually thought that Chosen was gonna die. Like nobody died in this season, but I honestly expected at least one person to bite the dust. So, oh well. But anyway, so after Terry ends up defeating Chosen, he goes off to the Cobra Kai flagship dojo because the kids finally formed a plan to expose Terry Silver and what he did at the tournament. Because in like a previous episode, Tori confronted him about like paying off the ref during the All Valley tournament. Well, there was a security camera at the dojo that recorded that conversation, so they're trying to upload it to YouTube. So while Hawk, Dimitri, and Sam's little brother Anthony are all like making sure that gets uploaded, the rest of Miyagi-Do are fighting Cobra Kai. And Terry Silver finds this out because of like another security camera. He goes to deal with the situation, although he has that one sensei, Kim Daeon, I think her name was, to go ahead of him and deal with it. So he ends up leaving Chosen to die. He leaves Johnny to get his ass kicked by his senseis. And like Mike Barnes was pretty much taken out like really quickly in the fight. But once Terry leaves, Johnny remembers that like he has a kid on the way, and like that gives him like that adrenaline boost to completely take out like almost every single sensei there until Mike Barnes shows up and helps him finish off the last few. So Terry Silver gets to Cobra Kai, like literally just as the video gets uploaded, and Daniel and Amanda and Carmen and Stingray, they all get there as well, and everybody sees the video. And again, just like in a previous episode, like this really shows Terry's grip, Terry's control just slip away, where like after they realize that he cheated during the All Valley, like all of his students, like, they don't want to follow him anymore, even when, like, he basically demands that they like beat the crap out of everybody that technically trespassed. So once he realizes that, he starts threatening Daniel, and Daniel actually takes that as a challenge. So they start fighting right there in the dojo, and like obviously Daniel kicks Terry's ass this time. Although I do like to think that's also because Chosen kind of softened up a bit. So, but Daniel defeats Terry Silver. Uh, Terry loses basically all of his students, and then he gets arrested by the cops. Especially after Stingray, he goes to the police and says that like he was coerced to lie about John Kreese. Well, that's basically how the season ends, with Silver going off to prison. Everybody who needs it gets medical attention, especially Chosen. And the cops reveal to Daniel and Johnny that John Kreese escaped prison, where he like I said, he adapted to his situation. He had another inmate that he previously turned into his lapdog. He had him shank him to make it look like he got killed, but the blood is actually melted jello. So then he escapes the prison, and that's what sets up season 6. And I'll be honest, I don't really love that ending. Like, I feel like if they didn't have John Kreese escape prison, like if they just had it like, Terry Silver paid off a guy to kill John Kreese in his cell to tie up one more loose end, I feel like this would have been like the perfect way to end the show, to be honest. I mean, there's still that thing about the World Karate Tournament, but like, I mean, let's be honest, like, the endings of season 1 and season 4 were kind of the same, just like some people on different sides. And I mean, like, that's why I didn't really care for like the season finales of 1 or 4, because like it was kind of retreads of what we've already seen from the first and third movies. And I feel like this sixth one would kind of be like retreading some more ground. So if they took out the whole World Karate Tournament and they took out John Kreese escaping prison, I feel like they could have actually ended the series like on that note. Like, it was a perfect way to end it. Like, Johnny's getting a baby. Daniel, Amanda, and Sam like all patched up their relationships. All the kids patched up their relationships. Most of them, at least. And like the main villains were defeated. That would have been a perfect way to end the show. But I mean, I'm still excited for season 6. I'm just wondering like what else they can really do right now, especially since like Cobra Kai, I think, might as well be obsolete at this point, because Terry already turned the kids on John Kreese, and as far as I know, like none of them believe Terry Silver anymore. So I don't really know what exactly they'll be doing in season 6. So that's only one of my gripes. Another one is the fact that that one sensei, Kim Dae-on, got defeated by the combined likes of Tori, Sam, and Evans. And like, I mean, I get they had to have some kind of fight to fulfill like Tori's arc, but like Kim Dae-on is not only like not like a full adult, but she's also the granddaughter of Kim Sun-young, who is basically the guy who taught Terry Silver, the guy who taught John Kreese, and the guy who taught George Turner, like John Kreese's CO in Vietnam, way back in season 3. And I'm pretty sure he also taught his granddaughter. And I'm sorry, but like Tori, Sam, and Evans like are all technically, according to the show, like they're all teenagers or young adults. And I just feel like that's the one thing that's really like not believable, that Kim Dae-on would lose to those kids. Because with all her scenes with Terry Silver, with how they spoke to each other, like it always came off as like she would be almost Terry Silver's equal, if not even better than him. Like we never really saw a fight between the two, but just from the way that they've spoken about like Kim Sun Young and like his fighting style, like it always felt like she was either like just below Terry Silver and John Kreese, either at their level or like above them. And just to see her get defeated by Tori and Sam and eventually Evans, I just felt a little bit jarring. Also, I feel like at the very least, like she should have had a fight scene like with Chosen, but that was my own personal preference. But anyway, there was a couple other things I didn't really like. I didn't really like how quick they wrapped up the Mexico storyline. It was only like for 2 episodes. I feel like at the very least it could have gone like 1 episode longer. Like there could have been an actual conflict in there. Like, but all that happens is Miguel realizes that that his father not only doesn't know who he is, he doesn't really care. He never really cared about Carmen or the possibility that she might have a son, and he doesn't really care about like the family that he has now. So he's just a complete asshole. Like I would have thought that like once he realizes who Miguel is, like he actually might try to hurt him and now like cause Johnny to kick his ass and save him. But that didn't happen. Like he just hid out in like a convenience store or something, and really that was it. And then the final thing that I didn't exactly care for is this was more of like it was also a narrative and like technical thing where I didn't exactly like the flashback between like Terry Silver, John Kreese, and them training under Kim Sun Young. And this is a huge nitpick, but I guess to more explain it a bit, like it actually is pretty cool. What I don't like is that they set it in 1980, and the reason why I say that is because the actor of John Kreese like still looks very young, or at least he looks very young to me. And like you compare that to what John Kreese's actor Martin Kove looked like in The Karate Kid, and if I'm right, that movie took place like in the modern day at the time, which would be 1984 when it came out. Well, the flashback they had was in 1980. And if you look between the two, like I'm sorry, but the actor who plays John Kreese in that flashback, he does not look like he would eventually like become Martin Kove in 4 years. Like, I guess to better explain, like he looked more like he would eventually become like Martin Kove's character in about like 10 years or 15. But maybe that's just me. But just seeing that specific actor and talk about how like he's training kids at like his dojo, and he even mentions Johnny Lawrence and says like, oh, there's this guy who like I have a lot of faith in. He even has the same name as me. And, like he's obviously talking about Johnny, and like I'm sitting there thinking like, dude, like you look like you're almost Johnny's age. But maybe that was just me. And then like they bring that actor back. In actually the episode prior to that where John Kreese is talking like with a therapist or whatever in the prison, and I think they utilize like his sort of like PTSD really well, where like he's starting to see the faces of everyone like he's sort of wronged, where he sees like his former girlfriend, the one who died, while he went to Vietnam. He saw his old CO, George Turner. He sees Terry Silver. Then Johnny Lawrence as a kid, which I don't know if they use like the I don't know if they use like the same like de-aging tech or whatever that like Disney uses for their shows and movies, but they did a really good job in showing like Johnny Lawrence like back when he was back from the first film, and then they cut to like Johnny like as an adult. So that was a pretty cool way in like conveying the message of like John Kreese's sins are finally catching up to him. But then they seemingly undo that in the next episode, because like John Kreese is still being shady. He now like has a lapdog who's another inmate, and he's still talking to Johnny about like revitalizing Cobra Kai. And like after the previous episode where like he finally realizes that like, oh, he screwed up, it feels like he's going back to his old ways like already, just like that. Now I don't know exactly what his plan is for season 6, but it doesn't seem like he changed after that episode, and it just felt weird to me that like that they give him that arc only to seemingly take 3 steps back on it. But other than that, overall, like the entire show is great. Definitely watch it. I really liked how the whole thing kind of just started. The middle point would I still think that the middle of the season was the peak of it. And then like it got back its momentum like during the final episode. But it's a really great show. Like obviously if you're a fan of the Karate Kid, you're gonna love it. Like I said, like I outside of the first movie, I didn't really watch the films before I saw the show, and like I love the show. It's one of my favorite like TV shows of all time. Again, I mean, I guess the last thing is like don't do what I did and binge the whole thing. But if you find the time, like definitely check it out because it's really badass. But that's really the time for me. I will see you guys in the next one.